Hello, good evening, viewers and participants. Welcome to Personal Finance Series. This is one of the last series or episode we will be doing to end 2023 with. And in this series, I'll be coming your way with how to calculate your pension. How do you know what goes into the calculation of how much you receive at the end of your working period? Many a times, people complain about receiving minimal amounts after working for so many years, and they tend not to understand how these amounts are arrived at. So, in this short webinar, we will learn how to calculate our pension so that we will know this before we even get there. And I believe it will be very educative. Now, first of all, let's take a brief look at the new pension scheme, which was introduced in somewhere in 2008, and then it was launched in 2009 and started working in 2010. That is the three-tier scheme, the three-tier pension scheme. And we all know that this three-tier pension scheme came to benefit the fact that many times before a three-tier pension scheme came, it was just the national pension scheme, which was just one pension scheme, one body that was taking care of pension. And it was just like the tier one. But when the new pension scheme came, we now have the tier two and then the tier three attached to the tier one. And all this is being made by the government to help individuals cushion their life after the working period and during retirement. Now, looking at the three-tier system, we know that the first tier, that is the tier one, is a defined benefit scheme, and it is mandatory for workers. So everyone, especially in the corporate and then the government side, is expected to make contribution towards Senate or towards their tier one. And for that matter, every employer is expected to contribute for their employees, the tier one, which is very mandatory. And what goes into this contribution? We are looking at 13.5%. 13.5% go into this contribution for the workers. And now, when it comes to the tier two is also a mandatory contribution that is 5% that is being made by the employer for their workers. And then the tier three is mandatory. Well, that's where we have the provident funds and other personal pension schemes that are not tier one or tier two that are not mandatory. So with that one, you just do it to just adapt to what you are doing, adapt to your tier one and then your tier two. Now let's go into how to calculate your tier two and then your tier three. Then we move on to the tier one itself. So now the tier two and the tier three, the first thing you need to know when it comes to the tier two and the tier three is that first of all, it is being paid in lump sum. You receive this in lump sum. So not like the tier one where you receive monthly payout from Senate. With the tier two and the tier three, you receive a lump sum, a huge amount of money. And how is this money arrived at? How is this amount of money arrived at? It's as a result of the addition of your principal contributions. So let's say you contributing 5%. That is your tier two to your fund manager and your trustees and your custodians as well. So this 5% of your salary has an amount, and that amount will go to your to you will go for will be contributed for you monthly. So at the end of your working period, you receive an amount of all this money that has been contributed from you plus interest. The beautiful thing is that with the tier two, your monies are being invested for you. So you can even request for your statement as time goes by. You can even request for your statement from your fund managers or your trustees. And then when you go on pension or when you hit 60 or early retirement at 55, then you receive a lump sum. And this lump sum is as a result of your principal amount plus the interest that has been accrued on your principal amount. So it's as simple as that. So most of the times, the huge amount people receive on retirement is what we call the tier two. is what we call the tier 2. And the tier 3 is being calculated in the same way. The tier 3 is the voluntary one you are making contributions to, a voluntary scheme you are making contributions to towards your retirement. In that same regard, when you go on retirement, your fund managers or your trustees are going to pay you a huge amount of money. That is the principals you have contributed or your contributions plus the interest that has been accrued on your contributions when it was invested. So this is what you receive at the end of your working period for tier 2 and then tier 3. I believe I am making sense in this slide, and I believe if you are having any challenge, any questions, any contributions, kindly drop them in the comment box and let's discuss. Now let's move on to the main one that people have challenge with. That is how to calculate your tier 1, the tier 1 pension pay. That is what comes monthly. Most of the times in Ghana here, that is what people depend on. A lot of old people are depending right now on their tier 1 pension pay. Now let's look at how the amount is being arrived at. Now we have something we call the pension right end. The pension right end. Basically, the pension right end is the legal position relating to money that you are supposed to have, money you are supposed to earn when you are on retirement, money you are supposed to earn when you are on retirement, or what makes you eligible for pension pay. That is what we call the pension right. It is what makes you eligible for pension pay. And in the note, I have indicated that what makes you eligible for your pension pay is when you have worked for at least 15 years, 15 years or 180 months. That's you when you work for 15 years or 180 months, you receive 37.5 pension right. You receive 37.5 pension rate, and these figures are fixed. There's nothing that can be done about it. And if you have worked below 15 years, then your pension rate will be calculated by 2.5% every year per per the years that you have worked, which is below the 15 years. And now, when you work beyond 15 years or beyond the 180 months, then you earn 1.125% as a pension right. So now we know what the pension right means. So now, to calculate your pension, the main formula to calculate your pension payout is the average best 3 annual salary times your pension right end. So if you look at the second aspect of this slide, we're looking at annual pension payout, which is the average best 3 years annual salary. So your best 3 years annual salary, your best 3 years annual salary times the pension right you've earned. So now, for the best 3 years annual salary, that's the average best 3 years annual salary, we can all calculate it by ourselves. But with the pension right in, we to calculate that you need minimum pension right. So look at the first one, the minimum pension right plus the actual months you've worked. So it could be 180 months, that is 15 years, minus the 180 months times the 1.125% divided by 12. So someone may ask, how did Senate arrive at this calculation? Um, the first one is for you to know how to calculate your pension right, the what you have earned or what makes you eligible for you to receive your pension pay. So you can't just work for 1 year and go for your pension pay. In the law, someone who is above 45 is supposed not to be eligible to contribute to Senate before you can start contributing to Senate. And that is giving you a minimum of 180 months or 15 years. Yes, and that is how we are going to arrive at this. So your pension right earn is calculated by a minimum pension right plus actual months work for minus 180 months or in brackets and then times 1.125 divided by 12. Now, when you're able to get this pension right in, then you multiply it or you divide it by three. Sorry, if you're able to get this pension right in, then you multiply it by your average best 3 years annual salary. Yes. So you multiply that by your average best 3 years annual salary. And that is going to be when you take your annual salary for maybe the best ones, the three best ones, then you divide it by three. That will be the average best 3 years annual salary. And then that times the pension right end is going to give you your annual pension payout. So you know your annual pension payout. And then you now get your monthly pension payout by dividing your annual pension payout by 12. By dividing your annual pension payout by 12. This may look complicated, but when you sit down and you put all these figures, all the figures or the actual figures into this um, 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 formula, that it will help you arrive at what you'll be receiving as tier one when you go on retirement. Thank you so much um, for making time for this short presentation on how to calculate your retirement. I know it will be of help to you so that you don't get confused or you don't estimate, you don't assume for an amount when you're going for retirement, and then when it comes, it becomes a disappointment or something. So thank you so much. I am Sam Hagan, business and financial consultant, and your host on Personal Finance Series. Thank you so much for your time. Catch you another time.